Hi there, I'm Mark Sepke. I'm an advisory systems engineer in Houston, Texas, and I'd like to talk to you about the four transformations available with Dell Technologies. Now, in order to talk about these transformations, I'd like to give you a visual representation of two specific topics that I think we can all relate to. One is work and one is the cloud. As we go through this example exercise, I'm going to ask a couple of questions on how we classify either work or the cloud as being something you do or as a place or a location. And in order to ask these questions, I'm going to create a little bit of a chart and talk about the different workers and the generations of those workers and how they would probably classify these two topics. So if we take a quick look, we'll have the baby boomer generation, the Gen Xer, and the Millennial Generation. Now, if we think about the baby boomer generation, we probably vividly have an image that comes to mind. This would be an office building, might have cubicles, has a start time, has an end time, very prescriptive approach to what work is, and it's treated very much as a place or a location. Now, if we think about cloud, we probably have a similar experience. We may think of a large data center with a lot of uniform infrastructure throughout, and probably would even have the mindset that if I could build an entire data center at the same time instead of it evolving over the years, I too would have had an ability to have a very uniform approach with how I cabled and labeled my infrastructure. But I definitely think of the cloud as being, again, a location or a place that data and or applications may live. Now, if we look at the Gen Xer, one of the first things that we tried to change, as I identify as this generation, is more of a work-life balance. And the way that we thought we were starting to introduce work-life balance was by changing work into something that we did instead of it being the office location. However, even though we were working remotely, we were still in a place or a location, and we really didn't change a whole lot. Now, if we think about cloud, we definitely took a step in the right direction by driving a lot of efficiencies into the data center by doing things like virtualization, but we hadn't yet evolved how the business accesses the infrastructure that we're managing through virtualization. And unfortunately, we were still continuing to manage what we thought was the first generation or first evolution, you could say, of the cloud as a place. Now, I'm going to stop here for a second because this is a great place for us to introduce our first transformation. And our first transformation is actually the IT transformation. Now, what virtualization got started for us was great. It was a great first step. But in order to truly transform IT, we truly needed to modernize infrastructure. We needed the infrastructure to be software defined and capable of having various different personas or personalities applied to that infrastructure. We definitely wanted the infrastructure that we had to be extensible to the cloud and cloud enabled. And we didn't want the penalties of architecting a solution that was rather small and maybe fit the budget initially, but as the applications evolve and grow, we may run into limitations where we would have to throw that architecture out and start over because we're only able to scale up. We definitely want our IT transformation to give us the ability to take advantage of scaling out, limitless scale that is truly modern. Lastly, we know that we're going to continue to evolve in our IT transformation beyond just virtualization to managing multiple locations, multiple clouds, and at the end of the day, we want consistent management across those. Right. So this is where our first transformation, the IT transformation, can come into play and take what was just a virtualized data center and highly evolve that to the next phase. Now, if we continue on in our chart, we take a look at the millennial generation. One thing that's going to become obvious and very different for this type of worker is the devices that they use, right? Anything from mobile devices, laptop devices, where they're using them could be home, could be at a office, but it very well could be a public setting such as a coffee house. Now, at the end of the day, our workers are part of our brand, and if they're out there enabled to be able to access applications seamlessly across different types of devices, and they're using modern devices that attract a lot of people's attention. They take a look at that and they go, "Wow, that looks like a really nice computer that you're using for developing code on. Where did you get that device?" For that worker to be able to say, the company I work for actually provided this for me. It's what enables me to be able to do my job and be very happy and successful at doing so. We don't think of our workers as typically recruiters, but in this case, the millennial generation, because work being something that they do and not just being a place, we do have to think about that quite a bit differently. To help you think about that differently, to help manage the applications across these various devices, we can help with what's called a workforce transformation. Lastly, if you think about the last quadrant here on the chart, the cloud for the millennial generation, everything has to be changed. We now think of the cloud as definitely something of a digital transformation because of the fact that our data not only should be accessible from anywhere, but it should be very self-service in nature if we need additional infrastructure, if we need to make changes to the applications or to the infrastructure. We also want to be able to start asking our data questions before making key business decisions. All of this is done through a true digital transformation where certain companies, after becoming digitally transformed, find themselves more consultative in their industry rather than just competing for whatever margins the widgets that they build and sell are able to deliver to their bottom line. Now, think about how much we've changed across all of these transformations, albeit the IT transformation for infrastructure, the workforce and the users and devices, or even the data and our new brand and our digital business by which, again, we make our key decisions by asking our data questions first. This changes a lot in terms of attack vectors and the surface by which attacks can come in and affect our business and threaten our business. And for that reason, we need to think of security very differently. The last transformation that I'll touch on in this presentation is the fact that Dell Technologies offers a security transformation to help you secure your infrastructure, secure your workforce, and definitely protect your digital brand. If you have more questions, I would love to hear them, as would Dell. Again, I'm Mark Sepke, and thank you for watching.